Hey there, I'm Kate Steinker, and welcome to Africa Uncovered, a podcast where we dive into Southern Africa's diverse and fascinating past, and discover why it still matters today. I've always been a history nerd, and proudly so. When I was younger, I loved stories, especially the ones no one else seemed to be telling. My first real step into the world of history didn't happen in a fancy library, as you might expect. It started somewhere much quieter, a local cemetery in my hometown. I remember walking between the weathered headstones, seeing names that time had almost erased. Some of them were soldiers, young men who had gone off to fight and never came back, leaving their families behind. Their stories had been all but forgotten. So I started writing about them, giving them their voices back, one by one. And somewhere along the way, it hit me. History isn't just dates and battles. It's people, real lives, real dreams, real losses. And honestly, the more you dig into history, the more you realize it's messy, it's fascinating, and it's full of stories that deserve to be heard. Later on, I was privileged to be able to study history first at the University of KwaZulu-Natal and then at Stellenbosch, where I completed both my honours and my master's degrees. For my honours research, I looked into something that sounds like it belongs in a horror movie: the bubonic plague outbreaks in early 20th century South Africa. Plague, you say? That's right. But it wasn't just about disease. It was about fear, about how race and politics collided during a time of crisis. And it taught me something important. The way societies react to pressure tells you a lot about who holds power and who gets left behind. For my master's, I then explored the life of Sir A. Bailey, a businessman, a politician, a landowner, a friend of Cecil John Rhodes. In short, a complicated figure who helped shape South Africa's economic and political landscape. Why study someone like this, you ask? He was ambitious, he was powerful, and maybe even a little bit ruthless. But learning about people like Bailey helps us understand the bigger forces, the systems that have shaped our country's story. And that's really what Africa Uncovered is all about. Opening up the real stories behind the headlines and the history books. In this series, we'll have conversations with historians, researchers, storytellers, and with people who've kept their history alive, even when it was never written down. We'll dive into everything from forgotten heroes to myths we think we know to big questions like, why does history matter today? How does the past still live with us? In our cities, in our politics, even in our families. And most importantly, whose stories have we been missing? Because here's the truth. History hasn't always been told fairly. For a long time, certain voices, certain communities, certain stories were silenced or forgotten. But this space, Africa Uncovered, is about making room for those stories, listening to them, learning from them, and asking how they can help us shape the future that learns from the past. Now don't worry, this isn't going to be a boring classroom lecture. Think of it more like sitting around a fire, sharing stories that make you laugh, stories that make you cry, stories that make you think, and maybe even see the world a little differently. Some episodes will be serious, some will be surprising, and some might just turn everything you thought you knew upside down. My dream is that Africa Uncovered becomes a space for curiosity, for conversation, and for connection. Because when we understand our past, really understand it, we have a better chance at building the kind of future we all deserve. And the good news? You don't need a history degree to join us. Just curiosity, openness, and a willingness to uncover the stories that make us who we are. So, if you're ready to dive into the forgotten corners, the surprising twists, and the powerful voices of Southern African history, you're in the right place. Subscribe, tune in, and come uncover the past with me. I'll see you there.